Hi, I'm Adam, Talent Acquisition Business Partner for Canal Installation here in the UK and in Northern Europe. Every couple of months we like to do a podcast surrounding people and wellbeing and those kind of things. And we're here today to discuss neurodiversity and how we can foster an inclusive neurodiverse environment for everyone who works here. So a really cool topic to talk about. I'm joined by Zack, who I've worked with on a couple of different projects. Zack, you want to do a quick intro and hello?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Zack. I am the Chief Operating Officer at Jamescape. We're a small business based in Liverpool city centre, and amongst a few other things, we're looking to support more organisations to become Disability Confident Accredited, which is a UK government scheme that helps organisations become more inclusive to disabled talent.
Love it, man, thank you. More on that, because we've done some work on that together, haven't we? So I suppose just to kick us off and do a kind of brief intro, the well-being of our staff is super important and something that's becoming more and more prevalent in the workplace in a minute is neurodiversity and people discovering more about it and it becoming more common and more spoken about, and it's something we're really keen to make more to make it more open to talk about it and not be a topic that's to be worried about and more want to embrace it. But I suppose just to kind of get us going, if you want to talk us through kind of some of the stuff you've done with other organisations, the kind of work you've done personally, and then we can take it from there.
Around disability confidence, sorry.
Yeah.
For us, we're a small business, very different from CNAF, but we kind of did disability confident accreditation ourselves a few years ago, and we saw this big problem where it was a really great scheme. We got a lot of benefits from it, including non-disabled staff and disabled staff alike. And we looked at it and we're like, not many businesses are actually going through and getting the top level of the scheme. And we were like, okay, let's actually try to do something about it. We've been through it ourselves, we know how it works, we know what actually you need to do, and the government guidance can be very long and drawn out and complicated, and we actually wanted to support businesses through it in a way that made sense for them. It was straightforward, simple. They actually got the most benefit out of it rather than just dragging their feet and never getting around to it. It makes you accountable as well, makes you actually do it, doesn't it? If someone's working through it with you, it makes it make more sense. We've been supporting businesses since, I think, midway through last year, and varieties, some like SMEs, some like yourselves who are like national companies and much bigger, but then also SMEs as well. All industries and sectors. Very keen and glad to work with you guys because construction's a big industry where there hasn't been much kind of in EDI really. There is some work in there, but it's an industry that typically isn't one that is accessible to disabled people. So we're really keen to kind of help you support and lead the way in that.
Yeah, and I suppose having worked with you now for coming up to a year, something like that.
I think it's 6 months. Not quite a year, yeah.
Yeah, getting there though. I've seen some of the stuff you do in the projects you're involved in. It's so cool, and some of the stuff you've helped us with has been amazing. We're super proud that we're on that journey to becoming disability confident certified at level 3, and it's a journey you're helping us on. So thank you. So thanks, man. Suppose to kind of move the topic on. So like I say, one thing we think about a lot here is the wellbeing of the staff, and as I've mentioned, neurodiversity is super important to us and something that's becoming more and more kind of prevalent. Through my own experience that I've gone through as discovering my neurodiversity and my ADHD journey that I've been on, it can be a daunting one, and it can be something that can be a lot to take in. Something that I'm always super keen on though is just talk. I think there's a lot. It's dead easy to focus on neurodiversity. Oh, what does that mean? There's so many positives to it, and there's so many major plus sides to it, and I always feel like, we should talk more about it. Just from kind of your experience and working with organisations and with people who may be classed as neurodiverse or have gone through that journey, what kind of positives do you see from it? What can it bring to the workplace? What are the mega stuff that can be used with?
Yeah, I guess there's so many. I'm trying to think of the best ones to focus on. I'd say dedication, attention to detail is a big one, especially for me. Personally, I'm diagnosed as autistic and ADHD, and most of our team are as well. Yeah. So we're very neurodivergent in Jamescape, and we see things like different approaches to problem solving. Yeah. If we're in a meeting and there's 3 of us around the table, we need to tackle a problem. There's 3 unique approaches to that problem, which is very innovative and forward thinking, and one of those probably is a really good way of doing it. Some of them are probably terrible, but at least one of them's got to be great. So you get a lot of different types of like brains and thinking. It just makes sense. More people in the room. I mean, as you said, a lot of people are getting diagnosed, and the awareness is increasing. So a lot more of the people you're probably working for and your clients are probably neurodivergent as well. So if you're designing and keeping it in mind in the room, then it's more likely that your products and services will be suited to that audience as well.
I find it so interesting in that, you're right, diagnoses are going up a lot more now. It's becoming more spoken about. It's becoming more accessible to go through the diagnosis journey. And something that I found, and something that was, so me being the age that I am, into my 40s now, so when I was a kid and when I was in school, especially ADHD was classed as it wasn't really spoken about. It was more of you were a bit of a turn away or whatever kind of thing. So coming from my age and my kind of point of view, when I first started on the journey, I was like, do I really want to, is this a journey I want to go down? But then the more I've gone down it, the more I've seen the positivities of it. And what I've seen coming with that as well, though, is, and hopefully this carries on, is companies, is businesses realising the major benefits. And it's not someone who, in my case, who just sits staring out the window because I'm not bothered and I'm thinking about what I'm at. They're getting more to grips with what it is, someone who is neurodiverse and what they can do. Do you think businesses in general, do you think they are becoming more involved in it? Do you think they're becoming more open to it and more kind of the understanding the positives of it?
I think they have to be. I think they're going to fall behind if they don't. I think because it is just becoming such a big thing, they kind of have to. They can't ignore it anymore. And it's crazy. I mean, I'm only 23, so I'm early career, so it's a bit of a different perspective. It's always been a bit more accepted in my view, in my generation. But I know a lot of like old generations say, it's crazy the number of people getting diagnosed. Too many people, they're overdiagnosing it. But I don't think that's true. I think just because we're more aware of it, we're more open to it, we have better sense of what it actually is. It means that it's not just like the top 1% of like the most autistic, low functioning people getting diagnosed, but actually like people on the full spectrum are. The rate is increasing, but I don't think more people are suddenly ADHD. I think they've always been. It's always had. I think it's 1 in 7 at the moment, but it's going up, and whatever point it hits in 20, 30 years, it might be like 1 in 5 or more or something. Then that is just the population that has always been. I mean, my dad's definitely autistic, but he has no idea. Like he never would have thought that, because he's like 60 now, and like he never. Back then, he just obviously was like, well, I'm not autistic. I went to uni and stuff. So it's just crazy to think, but. Ultimately businesses can't really ignore it anymore. I mean, statistically, if you're a big business, you're very likely to have a lot of neurodivergent staff and you don't even know it. So a lot of time we speak to businesses and we're like, what are you doing to support them? And they're like, we don't really have any disabled staff or neurodivergent staff. And I'm like, you definitely do. You definitely do. And it's a problem that you don't know. You should be knowing this. And even if they're not, there's still things you can do to support them better, just generally.
So with that then, so we're really, I don't want to say that we are completely, but we're, every company, every business, large or small, has a starting point where they say, right, okay, what can we do to support? We want to support everyone, no matter what. We're starting to put things in place, I hope, and I like to think that we're, to give people the support and guidance, whatever it is, what looks like a good place? What's a good environment? Is it an environment that's open to conversation? Is it they put certain things into place? What's a positive for the company to do? What kind of things can they do to help?
I think it's about fostering an environment of being open and being able to ask questions, even if they're silly questions, and get clarity a million times. I know before we started, you were like, when do I go? Stuff like that. It's just being able to actually ask that and not feel like too embarrassed is really good. Always having very clear instructions and everything. Like something we've worked on with you guys is the job description and kind of clarifying like the subtle kind of language changes can make a huge difference when someone's reading through. They might be neurodivergent, they might not fully understand it. There's a lot in language that really we need to kind of pick apart and be like, okay, how can we make it really clear what's going to happen? Even throughout the interview process, we're very careful with like outlining, here's the steps, here's what you do when you arrive, here's a picture. I know you guys have pictures of the meeting rooms of the interviews. That's something we've never come across, so we've actually stolen that from you guys.
I love that.
We've learned we learn from our clients as well, because no one's perfect. You've always got to learn. Like it's not like you hit level 3 of disability confidence, suddenly you're perfect. You've
yeah.
always got to learn and improve, and there's
Yeah.
going to be things that come out in 10, 20 years that change, and you've got to adapt and constantly see it as a ongoing piece of work.
Yeah, I must admit the work we've done with you. When we first met, when I met you for the first time, I was listening, Zach, you need to help me here, man, because we've got. I think if you're anything like us and anything like me, you want to help and you want to be like, right, what can we do? But it can be a bit overburdening as well. I think sometimes I personally as well. I'm sure it can be said for a lot of things. You always worry about saying the right things or the wrong things, and you don't want to be seen to be like, you know, pigeonholing, but also you want to be supportive as well, and kind of striking that line between those things is really difficult. I remember saying to you, you know, I don't want to be like in people's faces with it, because I don't want it to be. We want it to be accepted, so it's just a normal kind of, you know, a normal part of everyday life. But then it's striking that balance between support and not being, you know, over the top with it. When I talk about my own personal experience and, you know, something that I struggled with for a long time, because I was like, oh, do I really want the tag of this? Is this something that I really need? And when people were talking to me about it, I could tell they were a bit like, am I all right to say that? Am I okay to say this kind of thing? You know, should I say that to him or whatever? And I personally feel like, just ask me. Yeah,
just use common sense and good manners, really. I mean, we work with another client. They manage our office building, actually, Science Tech, and someone there was asking me, like, there's a co-worker in the building who's in a wheelchair, and he was like, I want to ask him if the building's accessible enough to his needs. And I was like, oh, great. And he was like, yeah, but I'm scared to ask him. And I was like, just ask. He's probably really happy when you ask him that. You should just be confident and just. I mean, obviously, like, he might be having a bad day. He might not be a nice person. I don't know, but chances are he's going to love that and really appreciate it, and you can have a good conversation and take on board what he says. So, yeah, you shouldn't definitely be scared. And I think you touched on a point of, like, you don't want to shove it in people's faces. I think something we like doing is integrating it as a standard. Yeah. So, like, not overtly being like, if you're neurodivergent, read this part of the job listing or whatever. Yeah. You should actually just make the entire job listing from the ground up accessible, so that people who are neurodivergent, not neurodivergent, can understand it the same. Yeah. Just make everything, like, from the ground up accessible is how we do it. Yeah,
and I think that's a real key thing, and that's something like I said, we're on a long journey, and it's not an easy one, and it's not something that we take for granted. That, you know, we could change a couple of job descriptions, and you know, we put a few fidget spinners out when we do interviews. We know there's a lot more to that. It's about that inclusivity and kind of building that. Everyone is inclusive. I kind of, in the main, you know, the people are supporting, they're accepting, but I think there's always that nervousness around, I don't want to say the wrong thing, and so we just want to make it part of the norm. Again, going back, I can only refer to, because I always, I've spoken to people inside the business about kind of what I went through, but it was something I'm always keen to say and kind of say is, yeah, I have ADHD, but I'm not the same as the next person who comes along who may have it. We have different kinds of wants and needs, and we're still different personalities. It's not like a one brush fits all kind of thing. And there are some people who have spoken to about it, and I tell them some of the kind of things that goes through my mind and how kind of things work, and they go, oh, you know what, I do that, and I think that, and I kind of, and I'm like, well, yeah, it's not like, so I suppose something else we're trying to do, and something I like to try and do myself, and I know you're a big fan of this, is just to have chats about it, just to have conversations. Do you think there's anything that, so I, for example, I'd manage my day. I have to sit down and go, right, I'm going to do this for 20 minutes, and I'm going to have a break, and this for 20 minutes, this will have a break, and I have things. I'm super lucky to be surrounded by people who get me and who support me. If you're someone who is neurodivergent and you're nervous within the workplace and you don't, what kind of encouraging words would you give to them in terms of sharing that, and approaching it, and what things can they do to, like, seek support, seek help, whatever it may be? Go and have that conversation. Yeah.
So I think the first thing is that people are legally entitled to support through the Equality Act. That's the business cannot they cannot say no. They have to at least meet with you, the HR team, and just discuss your needs. And it's called reasonable adjustments, which is like a legally defined term. If you identify as disabled and you have medical evidence of that, then you can go in and say, here's what I have, here's the things that I'm struggling with, and they will hopefully be equipped to kind of suggest some things. There should be a lot of reasonable adjustments that have been put in place for other staff, and they can say, oh, this worked for that person, would this work for you? Because like you said, it's not one size fits all. There's people who have the same condition who struggle with completely different things. But I'd say just try identify what you're struggling with first, and write some bullet points, and then come into the meeting, do some research. There's quite a lot online, like people who obviously have lived experience of the same conditions. They can talk about what works for them, and try see like, oh, I could use that, or I could, and see if any of those would work for you. And then you can always trial it. Doesn't need to be a permanent big deal. If you want something for a reasonable adjustment, you can always go back and say, actually, it's not working for me, or could we try something else?
I always, and again, don't want to keep going back to me, but I can only refer to my personal experience. And I remember when it only really became, we started within the business. We started doing some training and some different things, and that's when it started flagging up in my mind. We had some training a couple of years ago, and there was like a presentation on. Part of this presentation was a slide on the ADHD, and it was being delivered by someone external. And I was looking at this slide, and it was like, I don't know what the word is, but symptoms of ADHD. And I was looking at it, I was thinking, tick. And it must have been, I don't know, a good couple of weeks before I even uttered the words to anyone of that's me. Or I think that's.
If you didn't even see that slide, you would never have.
Honestly, I swear.
So we don't talk about it,
because you don't talk about it, you don't know. And I remember that day seeing it, and because of all the kind of, I'm just going to say, all the negative connotations that can sometimes get attached to it, I was a bit like, oh my God. And I remember being really upset. And I had to go into the car park and just have a minute to myself. And I bet everyone was thinking, what's up with him? Where's he going? And I remember thinking, oh man, what does this mean? And then it was like a journey from there of what do we do with this? Where do we go? Who do we speak to? I remember the first time I uttered the words to someone like, I think this is me. And I think that's me. And I remember feeling like just because I'd held on to it, and this was a couple of weeks, and there'd be people who've been having these thoughts for a long time, and just saying those words and being like, okay, and then saying it out loud, and someone saying, all right, well, yeah, cool, we can help with that, was just such a big relief to me. And then going on that, and then we had the conversations you just spoke about in terms of support and what can do to help and kind of what's available to me. And we're really lucky in that, not to be blowing smoke up Knauf Installation's benefits, but we are really, we have good provisions in place that I accessed, and it really helped me. And I literally got some practical information of how to manage my day, plus the stuff on top of that. But I suppose going back to the point of, it started literally with, I think this is me, I need some help, can somebody help me? And I know that's something you're mega, you're a big supporter of as well, just starting those conversations. Suppose one thing to ask, and I hope you don't mind me asking, we all have good days, bad days, do you ever feel, I sometimes feel like, oh, this is too much for me, or take too much on, or do you ever get days where you're like, oh, this is too much, or I need to sit down and chill, do you ever feel like that? Because I get it all the time.
The worst for me is like conferences, because I think networking events drain me a lot, but conferences are all day or half days, and they're very intense. Like, you've got to be in a place you've never been before, in like a room with other people you've never met. You've got to be like very upbeat. You've got to be like constantly on like the company lines, networking, probably doing some kind of task networking thing maybe, depending on what the conference is. Those drain me so badly. Interviews as well actually drain me, like conducting interviews. Which is strange, because normally like they're the nervous ones, which I understand, but I'm actually just as nervous as them sometimes. So I'll end interviews and I'll be like, I can't do any work, I've got to go home. My brain's like fried, because again, you've got to kind of put on a persona, you've got to be really clear and like nice, you've got to ask questions as they're written, you've got to make sure they come to, like there's kind of a procedure you want to follow to make sure they get the consistent high quality experience and an ability.
And it's about being fair, isn't it? So everyone has to be done in the same way.
It takes a lot of energy to do it. And I'm not saying like, oh, it's so hard interviewing, because it's it's hard on them. But yeah, that's
still
really
a stress and a strain.
It is, and as the whole time you want to get the right person for the job and stuff, and
those networking events. I used to do network in previous career. I used to go to networking events, and they are stress because you've got to be on your P's and Q's, you've got to be towing the company line. The first thing you're always thinking is, oh, just don't do anything daft. Don't just like, spill a drink on someone or whatever. Like, and then you come out at the end of that and you're like, thank God I got through that without, they can be so. I find it was the self the same. I'm so lucky in my job in that I get to meet loads of people from loads of different places, loads of different backgrounds, and I absolutely love it. But what people won't understand is when I get home, because they just know me and my work setting, I get home at the end of the day and I'm like, I don't want to speak to anyone. Just leave me alone. Just give me half an hour to decompress. Like, what I've started doing as a bit of a practical kind of solution to that. So I only live, I think I've mentioned this to you before actually, I only live like, if I was to drive here, I live like 10 minutes down the road. But I've started walking home because it's an hour to decompress, stick my tunes on, just kind of, try and but try and just to disconnect from before I get home. And it's practical stuff like that, which doesn't seem like a big thing, doesn't seem like a life change, but it's stuff like that
makes a massive difference. I think in general, like the whole inclusivity thing, like we're not, I guess you hopefully can attest to this, we're not about changing everything. We didn't come in and say, right, scrap your recruitment, scrap your staff management. All we did is had a look at it. You were doing loads great, you were actually really impressed, I remember, with the self-evaluation. You're already filling a lot of the boxes, but it was more about kind of looking at what you had and changing little things here and there, bits of wording on job descriptions, offering like training in certain areas, like just little bits and bobs here and there. And it's not about revamping everything, it's just about changing it slightly, and that makes a massive difference.
Well, you know what, that's a really good point, because that's something you said to us right from the get-go. You were like, this is not about coming and ripping everything up and saying you must do this. It was more, and I'm sure a lot of businesses are in this, and if any businesses happen to be watching this, to give from that, it wasn't like there was certainly changes and things you made as input, but it wasn't like a massive overhaul. And I hope, a lot of companies are like that, where it's just a few tweaks.
It will be, I mean, if you think about it, like the typical corporate setup, the interview style, everything, that's been for decades and decades, and it wasn't designed with anyone neurodivergent in mind. And there's a lot of really easy wins we can do very quickly just to improve it. We're not looking to change everything or overhaul everything. Like, it really is those little bits and bobs to get there, really. So yeah, definitely never looking to scrap and restart. Because ultimately we want to make it work for you guys. Because you guys are doing your best work, you know what you're doing, you're very successful. And we're not going to be like, right, scrap it all, you're doing it wrong now. We're just going to be like, right, here, you can just use a little bit better. And if we all did a little bit better across everything, we'd probably be there.
Just get there, little steps. You've been dead cool with me personally, because I know we've had meetings planned in, and I've been like, Zach, I will be there, don't worry, I'll be there. But then my brain takes over. I've said that to a million people, and you've always been like, don't worry about it. Just remember the last meeting we had, and you were like, let's put a meeting in for next week, and I'll see you then. We'll do that. And it's stuff like that that really helps. So I'm supposed to say thanks to you, really, because you've been so cool with us and so helpful, and kind of opened our eyes, and you're helping me and the people who are really investing in this to help us open other people's eyes to it. Do you know what I mean? You've made it really kind of what's the word? Really, I don't want to say like relaxed, but you've made it. Listen, this is just all normal. It's part of the process. There's no huge changes. It's just about changing a little few tweaks, and you've been dead cool with us, and it's really helped me to try and spread the word and within our business as well. And it's only been 6 months. I thought it was a year, but it's been a pretty cool journey so far.
It's amazing. Thank you. I mean, I guess thank you for you guys for taking a chance on a small business, because you're a massive company, and we've approached a lot of different companies in a lot of different industries. One's bigger than yours and smaller than yours, and a lot of companies who have the money and the resources and the time and say on the website, we're inclusive, we welcome this, and then they're not disability confident. I approach them and say, hey, this aligns with your values, let's do some work together, and they're just like, nah.
No, it's been a proper.
You guys were like straight away, like from the second we met, like, let's do this, makes sense, let's go. Whatever we need to do, let's do it.
That was I remember the first day we came to we came to your offices in Liverpool, and Julie, my manager, we couldn't find your office at first. And we're like, where's this office? And we came
massive golden plate.
Massive. Then we're like, just a massive one. We're like, how did we miss this office? And then first time we met you, it was really cool. So man, I think we're coming up to the time. We've been chatting for pretty flown by so much. I suppose just to wrap up, and I suppose something that I always like to talk about. just to kind of, hopefully anyone who's listening to this from within our business is that, if you're worried about any of these things, or if you want to talk about these things, or you there's something on your mind, then please just say the word. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to go to someone and be like, I need help. It don't have to be that dramatic. It can be a conversation of, listen, I'm thinking these things and I just want to have a chat about it, or I just want to we're doing our absolute best to make it easier to talk about these things. And I don't want to underplay it that it's just a matter of talking about it, because that would be too. I just want to kind of say to people that I've been there myself, and once you say the words, it just opens the door. And there's so many people, like you mentioned, there'll be so many people who don't even know that they may be neurodiverse, and you might start a conversation with someone, they go, you know what, so I suppose my message is to everyone who might be listening, I'm sure you'll support, it's just when you feel comfortable and confident and you can do it, then just say the word, and there's so many people who can help you. I can speak from personal interest as to that, personal experience to that. Mate, thanks for coming in. I've proper stung you this. You were expecting just a little kind of...
It's been fun. It's been something a bit different, yeah.
Keep you on your toes. Mate, thanks for coming in. It's been really cool to chat to you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for working with us.
Cheers.
Thank you.